is up, folks? What is going on? Welcome into another episode of America's Hometown Horror. I am happy to report that we are all live and back in studio again. The little COVID scare has gone bye-bye. Couldn't be more thrilled about it. But guys, before we get going tonight, before I run through my usual spiel here, I have to say, I have come here to chew bubblegum and podcast.
I'm here to eat
and I'm about all out of bubblegum, motherfuckers. Which means, of course, we are talking about They Live tonight. But before we get into that, we have a bunch of things to cover, as we did take last week off unexpectedly. So I know we have a lot of things to cover before we talk about tonight's movie. Maybe we'll go a little bit longer tonight. We shall see. Maybe we'll have a second thing to put out in the feed this week at some point. We shall see. More on that in a little bit. Anyway, here's where you can find us on social media and the interwebs if you're interested in that sort of thing. The first place is our website, which is ahpod.com. It's ahhpod.com. You can also find us on YouTube and Facebook. Just search for America's Hometown Horror. You'll find us right on there. You can tweet at us at Hometown Horror, and you can find us on Instagram, which is where we're the most active, at Hometown Horror Pod. And if you feel like it, you can even shoot us an email at hometownhorrorpodcast@gmail.com. And, as always, just a reminder that we are now a member of Horror Facts Magazine. That would be horrorfacts.com. You can go right to horrorfacts.com, a great resource for any horror fan. You may have heard of Bloody Disgusting. You may have heard of Dread Central. Other websites like that. You need to know about horrorfacts.com. It's a great resource for news, reviews, etc., etc. And, hey, podcasts. We're on there. We have our own dedicated page alongside other great horror podcasts, so head on over to horrorfacts.com and check them out. And as always, I'm joined by my co-hosts.
Oh, we're here too.
Yeah!
Yes, again.
Kat, Matt, and Andrew. Hey, guys.
What up?
How are we doing tonight?
Fantastic.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Practically halfway through the week already.
Dude, right?
I know, it's
right?
That's actually a good thing. Well, I was telling people earlier today at work that it's going to feel like an extra long week because last week was a short week after a 3-day weekend, which is the worst type of week, the first long week afterwards. So, I don't know. We're kind of getting there. And if you're listening to this right now, that means it's hump day and you're halfway through the week. So keep going.
Hump day.
You'll get there, baby. You will get there. All right, Mike. Yep, I know. It's not like I ever get that ever with my name being Mike with that famous Hump Day commercial. I've never heard that before ever in my life. So, keep
that
on
commercial's
going on
so
with that.
old now.
Mm-hmm, yep. Anyway, guys, I know we did take the week off, and we did take some time to, and there's been a lot of stuff that people watched. A very big release that I know at least one of us is finished with, and a couple of us are about halfway through. Andrew, I'll start with you, and I'll go to you, Matt.
No spoilers.
So having finished the first half of Stranger Things 4, Andrew, what were your thoughts?
Oh, mind blown. It's so good. It's one of my favorite seasons ever.
I believe
it's
I heard you say.
I
was going to say. I believe I heard you say that, which is a big boy statement to make.
It finishes strong. And I mean, it starts strong too, I think.
Yep.
The music it's the best soundtrack too of all a bold statement. The soundtrack awesome and all.
Yeah, that's saying something because I think one of the most consistently excellent things about Stranger Things is not only the score, but their soundtrack selection throughout all 4 seasons.
It's just so much more horror.
Yeah.
And I think there's 4 great stories, which is awesome.
So Kat and I finished episode 3 last night. So we're about halfway through it. Right? Because there's seven episodes?
They get longer.
Dude, that's the only... If it's a complaint, the only complaint I have is how long each of the episodes are, because, I feel like I want to watch more every night, and I can only get through, 1 or 2 episodes
you're watching a movie every time.
Right.
Watching a movie.
Which, it's good. It's very good so far. It definitely feels the most horror, I think. The most pure horror out of any of the seasons so far.
Absolutely.
Huge Nightmare on Elm Street vibes in a lot of ways, and obviously, Matt, I know you are behind on this, so we won't spoil it for you. But it's
I was gonna say I haven't watched it.
It's definitely it's something that you would dig.
Yeah,
you would dig.
I'm excited for
Stranger Things is essentially 80s nostalgia porn, which but it does it in a very good way. I love
porn.
it. Tasteful 80s porn.
They pay a lot of homages in this one to 80s horror.
Yeah, I've noticed quite a few. I've heard people make comparisons to Creepshow, in addition to mainly your brother.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe like the Milan, but like other than that,
I don't even really
I
see
don't
that
see
yet.
that
Yeah.
either. There's a little bit. It gets a little Silence of the Lambs vibes going on a little later on
Okay.
as it goes.
Yeah. I think the original Nightmare on Elm Street and a few specific scenes, and also Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors. I'm getting
Arguably the best one.
Warriors. I'm getting a lot of vibes for that. So, yeah, if you're behind on Stranger Things or if you've seen the whole thing, God bless you. Haven't had the time to get all the way through it yet, Andrew. I know you have. Maybe next week we can talk a little about that.
I've been waiting for someone to finish it because I'm like,
I know.
but I can't. It
find
also it's long. It's like it's probably like 10 hours
It is ridiculous.
for 7 episodes.
It's a lot. It's a lot. So, yeah, Stranger Things 4. Hey, it's good. So, check it out. It's good.
Check it out.
Check it
Kat,
out.
as Kat would say, it's good.
I like it.
I like it.
I like it. It's
Right?
good. Yeah.
Do you have anything you want to add on Stranger Things 4?
I like it
Okay.
so far. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Great.
2 thumbs
great.
up.
I still have to
2 thumbs
finish season 3.
Okay.
I will be caught up entirely by the time the second half
Second
is
half
out.
comes
Yeah, because that's like
And I'll be
July, I
happy
think.
to go balls to the wall with you.
All right. Maybe we can do a whole
It's hard,
episode.
it is hard
It's
having
a
them be
lot
so long.
to watch.
It's a
It's
lot.
a lot
Yeah.
of time.
Yeah,
It's a
I
lot.
spend a lot of my time watching Hey Bear and such.
Yes. Understandable.
Well, I will say though, I think that this definitely holds my attention.
Which is saying something because it takes a lot to hold your attention.
Yeah.
Yes.
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 Correct.
More of that to come when we talk about this movie later tonight.
yes.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes, indeed. Matt, I
Yep.
know that you watched a lot. I was paying it. I saw your Instagram story a lot of times. You watched a lot of shit over the last week that we didn't record. Why don't you tell us about some of it, huh?
Matt's news.
So there's actually a
I
couple.
saw at least one movie that I know that I've seen. So I just you go ahead. I'll give you the floor, my friend.
I think there's one that I didn't post the thing for, but I usually do that. I'll post the poster of whatever movie I'm watching, just because I don't know. People ask me about it, then it's just a conversation.
Good way to
starter.
keep track
And I
of it,
keep
too.
track, yeah.
Yep.
So I keep all like the screenshots in my phone. So basically, first off, I have a little bit of news that I'm excited to share.
Yes.
So I'm a big fan. Obviously, when we did our countdown and we did the 2010s, I picked Mother, and that's a Darren Aronofsky movie.
Mm-hmm.
He also did Requiem for a Dream. He did Black Swan, among other great non-horror movies. The Wrestler and
Forgot about the
The
Wrestler.
Fountain, Pie. But he has a new movie coming out.
Joaquin Phoenix.
Nope,
No.
that's Ari Aster.
Ari Aster. That's right.
Yep.
Yep.
New movie coming out starring Brendan Fraser.
Ooh.
Oh, I heard
Mike
about
Called The
loves
Whale.
him.
The
Yeah,
Whale,
so
right?
it's a
I've
movie
heard
called
about
The
this.
Whale.
Yes.
And what it's about is a guy who leaves his wife and daughter for his gay lover, and then down the road wants to reconnect with his estranged daughter, but he's also a 600-pound recluse who's eating himself to death.
What?
So it has a lot of that kind of bleak vibe that I think is, Aronofsky. It's like that plot, and then you attach Darren Aronofsky to it. It's like, you're like, oh, this is going to be so miserable to watch.
Wild, yeah.
Can't wait.
Yeah. So I'm excited about that. I'm not sure when it comes out. I know it's based on a book.
Yep.
It'd be sick if it comes out at the end of the year, but I'm not sure that's the case.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
have a feeling it's going to be sometime next year.
I have heard of this before, and I did hear that Brendan Fraser is playing the lead, and also the girl that plays Max in Stranger Things is playing his daughter, the redhead.
Yeah.
Yep. So she's Sadie Sink, I
I
believe
like
is
her.
her name.
Yeah.
Yep. I did see this. Yeah. So anytime an Aronofsky movie comes out,
So
I feel
Brendan
like, yeah,
Fraser is Whale.
he is the
Yeah.
whale apparently of the title.
I guess it's pretty just rough.
Yeah.
Sounds it.
Yeah, so
I wouldn't expect anything.
I am pretty excited about that. So some of the movies that I watched, though, I did take some time to watch some stuff just kind of randomly. The first one I did was Gaspar Noé's Enter the Void. So he did Irreversible. He did Climax. He has a new movie coming out that's actually starring Dario Argento called Vortex,
Okay.
which I have not seen. It's not widely released yet. Enter the Void came out in 2009. It's kind of his. I guess it was kind of his big movie. It's 2 hours and 40 minutes. It's very long, and it definitely has some horror elements to it, just because of how it's a lot like Climax, where it has just this disorienting kind of like art film vibe to it. Basically, a drug dealer that's living in Tokyo, he ends up dying, and the whole movie is his POV and his life after death. and before and during his life. So it's just almost like this weird, like, hardcore drug movie meets, like, the vibe of, like, Ebenezer Scrooge in A Christmas Story.
Wow.
Like, kind of seeing his past, present, and future.
Yeah.
So even more of a fever dream than A Christmas Carol, pretty much. Wow.
It's wild.
Yeah. Okay.
It's very long, and it feels very long, and there's some really, really graphic violence that happens in it, like most Gaspar Noé movies.
I was going to say, I'm not surprised coming from you that a movie you watched has extreme violence.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a good movie. Not my favorite of his, but... And it easily could have been 2 hours tops.
Yeah.
There's, like I said, there's a lot of kind of like 2001 Space Odyssey type vibes where it's just like, just kind of nothingness for a little bit.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that was like one big one that I watched. I actually watched that after the Celtics clinched Game 7.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, I was up
Right.
late that night. Yeah.
Damn.
Because I had that
Jeez.
Monday off. It's
Oh,
Memorial
that's
Day.
right.
Oh, yeah. Might as well go.
And then I did The Prowler, which is, I think, so Joseph Zito is the director of that. So The Prowler is a 1981 slasher movie. Takes place 30 years after World War II. And it was kind of funny because I watched this on Memorial Day without, like, kind of realizing what it was. But he's basically comes back dressed in, like, World War II clad stuff and just is recreating a murder from their, like, celebration night before they all went to. Yeah, it was cool. Good slasher. If you've seen The Burning, great gore, great kills. And he also directed Friday the 13th Part 4,
Okay.
which is my second favorite Friday the 13th movie.
Okay.
So he's got good stuff. I watched the movie Lamb, which is an Icelandic movie.
That's newer, right?
So emotionally draining.
I would say
dude.
I've heard of that.
Yeah. It's obviously in subtitles. It's in Icelandic. Basically, a family or a mother or a wife and husband, they end up finding this lamb is born on their farm, and it's kind of deformed. They end up raising it to be their own child, but they, like, manifest it into being a real kid, but it's
God.
not. It's a lamb, and it's like it's just super bizarre. But there's also like an entity that is part of that, and that all comes to fold at the end. I don't want to spoil it. Definitely watch it. You're gonna fucking.
I saw
love
that. I
this
saw
movie,
videos for it. I was like, oh, I gotta watch.
I've definitely
Yeah.
heard.
What was
of
that
it.
on? Was it? Did you?
Showtime.
It's on Showtime.
Interesting. We don't have
We
Showtime anymore.
canceled
Yeah.
Showtime.
It is extremely depressing,
Even better.
as is Enter the Void. And then just a couple little things. I've heard that the movie Watcher that came out.
Oh, the one with Micah Monroe.
Yeah,
Yep,
I
heard
guess
about
that's
that.
doing really well.
Heard that's good.
in the
Yep.
select theaters, as is Crimes of the Future, which is Cronenberg's new movie.
Yeah.
I've heard it's wild.
Yeah, that one I've heard.
see
Again, and take this with a grain of salt. I've heard there were a lot of walkouts at was it Cannes or wherever the fuck
Yeah.
it premiered. But I've heard it's kind of like a late career great Cronenberg movie, and the premise is really fucked up.
The
from what I've
walkout,
heard. Yeah.
the walkout news at Cannes Film Fest is becoming synonymous with standing ovation nods. Like it just I've heard it so many times that I'm like, yeah, whatever. Do people walk out of movies all the time?
Yeah.
Apparently.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes me want to see the movie.
actually,
People
of
walk
course.
out.
Yeah.
Like, why
Who was it? Was Andrew? Did you say it or did Matt? Did you say it that somebody walked out of Men when we last
Yeah,
recorded?
that was me.
That was you. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. What was I gonna say? What do you think of Werewolves Within?
Oh, that was I forgot about that one. Yeah, that was good.
That was the one I knew that I watched.
That was like that was my Saturday morning kind of like.
Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah, like I was light because I knew
Definitely
Sarah
kind of has
was,
that vibe. Yeah.
Sarah was home and like she was chilling and like Layla was down with us. It was like we're just sitting in the living room and it was at least had the light comedy.
Mm-hmm.
It reminded me a lot of Knives Out. Had that vibe to it.
Yeah.
It's obviously the whodunit. I don't want to spoil it because it's got a lot of twists and turns. But
Well, Kat and I watched it. You probably haven't
No,
seen
I
it.
have not.
What is it?
Werewolves Within.
I was
with the-
like-
with the AT&T girl and Guillermo from What We Do in the Shadows. Oh, come on! We watched it like a month ago. Not
Did we?
even. Yes, we
Werewolves
did.
Within?
Werewolves
that's also
Within.
on Showtime.
Yes, it's good.
Showtime
It's very
has
good.
a good.
Yeah, they got some hidden gems.
I thought it was good. I liked it.
Yeah, I liked it. It was cool. It was
Yeah.
funny. And
And
I feel like
it has your girl in it, so you got to watch
the
it.
AT&T chick.
Yeah.
And she looks good.
She's my girl. You
Yeah.
mean your girl.
All of maybe
I mean,
both
whose
of
I'm a
them.
whose
fan.
girl wouldn't it be?
Yeah.
She looks good. She's funny in it too. She plays a good character. I hope to see her in
Yes.
more movies.
Yes.
I didn't even
Okay.
know she was like an actress outside of like.
Yeah, I think I guess she is. Yeah.
Oh,
Her name is
movie? Wait a minute.
Milena
It's like Mia-
Vaintrub,
Yeah,
something like
some
that.
sort of-
I think she's Israeli.
Oh,
okay.
that was a good movie.
Yeah,
it's
told
pretty
you.
funny.
Oh, now you remember.
No, I had to look it up because I don't remember just movie titles. Like I need some sort of visual to go.
Who
along
remembers
with it. I
movie
don't-
titles?
No,
I tell you, a movie we watched a month ago that has the chick from AT&T and Guillermo from What We Do
I
in the
don't
Shadows.
remember the
Very
girls
specific.
from
Yeah, I mean,
AT&T.
I don't know. I mean,
If
More
you said-
specific than
The
you
AT&T
could
If you
girl.
said like Flo from Progressive, I'd be like, okay. But the girl from AT&T,
I feel like they're essentially the same.
no, they are not. the
Except
same.
that no, the AT&T girl's
I
way
hate
better
Flo.
looking. Yeah, Flo's terrible. But I mean, they're pretty recognizable commercial people, is what I mean.
I don't think so.
Obviously, for the the internet crowd, the AT&T girl's a little bit more famous
aesthetically
for
pleasing.
a couple of reasons.
Good assets.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, hey, whatever. It's what it is.
We're all human.
Yeah. Hey, so anything else? Or
Those
before
are
I
those
had
are
something
those
too?
are all my big watches, and then my little blips of news. So, yeah.
Buried the lead here, and I did talk about this at the beginning. That hey, big ups to our buddies over at Spooky World the movie,
Oh, yeah.
or actually,
Oh,
sorry,
yeah.
Spooktacular the movie. It's not called Spooky World the movie anymore. It's called Spooktacular the movie. Who had the world premiere of their film at Monster Palooza out in L.A. this past weekend with a star-studded panel of guests. So I did talk to Tony over the weekend. I guess the premiere went very well. I'm supposed to be talking with him later this week, which will be something that you can only hear on this feed, unless you were at the premiere. But I know that Tony Timpone, who used to be the editor-in-chief of Fangoria, moderated the panel, and Quinn, David, and Tony, who were all on our show, were obviously part of that panel. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Tom Savini, Kane Hodder, and Barbara Crampton were all also part of that panel when the film screened out in LA over this past weekend.
So cool.
Yeah.
Full disclosure, we were invited to come out and view this premiere. Unfortunately, we could not make it due to circumstances beyond our control. I wish we could have been there. But there is maybe going to be something a little bit more local down the line. If I'm allowed to say that, I'll ask Tony. And if so, I'll cut it out if it's not. But I think it's going to be something a little bit closer to home. Yeah, see, somebody else listens to the Always Sunny podcast besides me.
you.
Yep, there we go. So huge shout out to our buddies over at Spooktacular. I know how hard they work, how long they've been trying to put this together, and I'm just so happy that they were able to put everything together and have such an awesome time out in LA. So I was initially supposed to talk to Tony the day after, but I think he was feeling the jet lag a little bit that day. So I let him off the hook, and we'll hopefully talk at some point this week. And,
See what happens.
let's see. What else? Andrew, Kat, anything else you guys want to talk about before we jump into our movie here?
I don't really want to talk about it, but I did watch Thinner.
Oh, I love Thinner.
I feel like it's underrated.
It
I
is.
feel like the
It's
movie gets
bad. It's not
terrible.
good.
It's bad, but it's pretty awesome, too.
It's like a guilty pleasure. Like
Yeah.
all of those Stephen King movies are just like there's something that's nostalgic to me because I'd come home from school as a kid and put on AMC Fear Fest, and it's like so many of those Stephen King movies. So
Or like
they're
the
like
same
comfort
thing, too.
films.
Like when Netflix first came out, I would be like, just scrolling that baby, all these Stephen King movies.
Yeah.
And it's just, they're so bad, but like, it was the perfect, like I woke up Sunday morning, it was like 9 o'clock, I just watched
Yeah,
it.
nothing
Yeah,
better
I
than
was
just
I'm
like
just gonna sit
weekend
here and
morning
eat a
horror.
breakfast sandwich and watch this.
I mean, it's kind of a replacement for Saturday morning cartoons,
Yeah,
I mean,
gotta get
at least
something.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, also, one other thing that I saw today, I don't know if any of you guys saw this besides me. So the full trailer for the new Predator movie dropped today. Did you see it?
I did.
Oh, it was awesome. It was
still not
dude,
watching
it looks
trailers.
great. So it's called Prey. I know we talked about it a couple of weeks
Yeah.
ago, where it's set in the 1800s with a group of Native Americans, I believe Comanche Native Americans, essentially fighting predators or a predator.
Sounds
and
amazing.
It looks fucking
Yeah,
awesome.
it sounds
looks
like
really
is
good.
I really do hope that it's rad.
Yeah, it looks really cool. I was impressed by the trailer, is what I'll say. So yeah, I would say don't watch it if you want to.
I'm going
stick
with
to
that. Like
pledge.
sometimes I'll accidentally watch something, but I'm trying to, like any big movies that I want to see.
Okay.
I
Fair
don't
enough.
watch it.
Because, I mean, how do you go to the movies, though, and not watch the trailers that are in front of you?
You have to
Well, yeah, I
purposefully
can't-
walk in 20 minutes
Well,
late.
I can't
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah,
So
no.
that's not happening.
Yeah, no,
So
I
any
like
trailers I see at the movie theaters, beyond my control.
Right. That's
Yeah,
fair.
that's okay. Fair enough.
It's the best part
Yeah. Anything else, you guys? Anything else that we left out? Anything else anyone wants to talk about? The floor is anyone else's.
The full trailer, or at least the teaser trailer for Rob Zombie's Monsters, which would
Ooh,
be
Monsters.
today if you're listening to it as this aired.
I love the monsters.
So I did hear that. So that and one other thing. I know that was initially talked about as being like a Peacock exclusive, but now they're saying maybe it's going to be a Netflix movie.
Okay.
So,
I know the Monsters original series is on.
Yes. So
I love the months. I
Yeah.
totally forgot about them until you just said that. That's
It's
funny.
like 60 episodes.
Yeah.
yeah.
I used to watch
It's
them
only
all
two
the time.
seasons, but still, it's 30 episodes.
But it turns out that Rob Zombie was able to be coerced into directing like a PG or PG-13 horror movie.
Oh, is that what
with
it's
the
gonna be?
Munsters.
Yeah.
It's not going to be like a hard R rating Rob Zombie movie. It's going to be like an actual Munsters movie in the same vein, kind of.
Well, that's kind of cool.
Which
Good for him.
I respect. Good for
Yeah,
he has
that's-
such
yeah.
reverence for the the original series that he's not willing to. I bet you he probably didn't come to the studio with a hard R-rated Monsters
you can't.
movie because
No.
They're gonna be like,
he has too
no,
much
you
respect
out of
for
your
him.
How would you
mind?
do that?
I remember watching like MTV Cribs back in the day and seeing Rob Zombie's house, and he has so much like Universal Classic
Yeah.
Monster and the Munsters like paraphernalia in his
Stuff.
house. Insane.
I
Yeah.
really hope that it has that, like, at the beginning of House of a Thousand Corpses, how it has, like, that Dr. Wolfenstein kind of, like, 1950s midnight movie monster
Yep.
vibe.
Yep.
I really hope that this whole movie is, like, bookended by something like that.
I wouldn't be surprised.
And it would be really, really fucking cool.
I would argue that there's probably no director better suited for something like that than him.
Yeah, that's
I would
fair.
think so,
We will see.
he's good at what he's good at, and I think he has a niche. A niche.
Niche?
A niche.
A niche. Yeah. Oh, one last thing. Apparently for Scream 6, Nev Campbell's not
I
returning.
saw
Did you
that.
guys see this?
Yeah.
See this? Hear about this?
Are you pissed?
Kind of. Actually, my friend Jen tagged me in it on Facebook today, and I was like, what? I was like,
Yeah.
how are they going to have a Scream without Nev?
Well, apparently they lowballed her on a
Yeah.
contract offer.
Well, to be fair, in the last movie, she was not in it.
I was going to say, she's probably
Like-
going to be in it for 5 minutes.
Well, yeah.
Well, that wasn't.
Because they're
I-
kind
I
of...
One shooting day.
I think that was how the story
I
was
wanted $1
written.
billion
Right.
for my shooting.
They didn't want her to be. She wasn't the main part of that story.
No,
But she
and-
probably was commanding, like, lead
course.
actress money, which at this point in her career, she should be, which the studio probably told
You
her
know
to
what?
go
I'm
fucking
out then.
pound
I'm
sand.
not gonna see it.
Yeah, you're
No, I
out?
don't-
No Nev
yeah.
Campbell? Yeah,
Yeah.
you're not going to see it anyways.
I'll
Well,
see what it's
This
like
is gonna
out
be
on,
my
like,
ground
streaming.
that
I don't think
Yeah.
I'd go
This
see
will
it
be
in theaters.
the hill that I die on.
I'll
from
probably
this,
see it in theaters because I know Kat will want to see it in theaters.
Maybe. When does
Yeah.
it come out?
2023, I
Yeah.
believe.
Jenna Ortega, like, reprising that role, too.
I believe so.
She's ripping, dude. She's in
Yeah.
everything now. She's
Yeah,
like the
she's
new-
playing
the Scream Queen.
Wednesday Addams in
Yeah.
the new Netflix series.
I'm not sure how that'll be.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. But
I like her. She's cool.
all right, guys, 24 minutes in. You want to finally talk some
Yeah.
They Live or what?
Yeah.
They leave.
Fucking right, baby. All right, so I picked this movie. I'll kick this off, and I'll go around the horn here and let you guys talk about it. But
That's a lot of news.
I picked this movie, and I know we started talking about this a couple of weeks ago, where I said, I'm really feeling talking about some Carpenter. And I think this is probably one of, if not the most underrated Carpenter movie.
For sure.
I was also talking about maybe doing The Fog, which I think is probably up there with this movie as one of his most underrated movies. Everybody knows Halloween. Everybody knows The Thing. The Escape from New York, Escape from L.A. Those are popular.
in the Mouth of Madness.
Oh, In the Mouth of Madness, Prince of
of
Darkness.
I think those are kind of a little more underrated than They Live.
They very well may be, actually. Yeah, now that you mention it. Now that you mention it. But, turns out when you watch this movie, and I hadn't seen it in a few years, that this guy Carpenter kind of knew what he was doing, and he was pretty far ahead of his time. Huh?
Smart. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's like the George Carlin of horror movies.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's funny because there's a portion at the very end of this movie where things happen, and John Carpenter and George Romero are both name-dropped in the movie. Did you guys notice that?
No.
So at the very end, essentially. But I think that John Carpenter and George Romero have directed some of the most, like, socially and politically, like, progressive horror movies of the last,
Yeah.
however many
60
years.
years.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
Both of them.
Yeah.
Both of them, I would say, equally.
Yeah.
But I think that this movie, it's ahead of its time. And it's a really interesting concept that I can't believe hasn't been remade yet, although I think there was an attempt to remake it. But considering some of like the social and political themes that are in this movie, it seems like it's something that's ripe to be remade in 2022 without like getting political. But I feel like it's hard to not talk about some of these things
Right.
in that movie
Yeah.
when you're
Right.
watching it because it's very on the nose.
Super. Yeah.
Right. I mean, in this movie, it's not the fucking Godfather. but you can see why this has gone on to become a cult classic. There's absolutely a fair amount of cheese on this, as you would say, Andrew.
Cheese.
Love it.
And I just made the Godfather comparison. I mean, Rowdy Roddy Piper is absolutely not Marlon Brando, but I actually really enjoy him as fucking
He's
Nana.
pretty awesome.
There's
Pretty
no
good.
other person that plays that role.
Pretty good.
Ever.
I mean, he's got some unreal one-liners. I mean, there's the famous one that I already quoted at the beginning of the episode, but some of the shit that he says in this movie, I guess he kept a notebook of like phrases his character would
from
say
his wrestling
from what I
career.
read. But it's also very funny to me personally to see him not as Maniac in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, just like we were just talking about
and the
before.
wrestling for the
Yep,
troops one.
he was in 2 episodes of Always Sunny before he passed away. Very young, by the way, 61.
Yeah,
not
I mean,
surprising
I
for a
imagine he
wrestler.
had pretty bad.
He had a lot of health. He had a
problems,
lot of
so-
health issues. Yeah. But hey, I read a lot about him today. Interesting guy, thoughtful guy, good actor. Like, did a lot of stuff in his life. Kind of came from nothing to go on and become like pretty famous. So big ups again to Rowdy Roddy Piper. But yeah, I think They Live rocks. It's a really cool concept. It's it's definitely got that 80s cheese to it, but it's a good movie. And I think it is well deserving of the cult classic status that it has. So, I don't know. That's what I have on it. I'm glad I picked it. I'm glad I rewatched it. Who would like to go next?
Oh,
Mr. Audette.
yeah. I think I think a lot to what you said. It's definitely super relevant. I haven't watched it in probably like maybe 4 or 5 years, and so watching it again now, I was like, wow, this is crazy. This is like so relevant. They even referenced that like their whole plan is going to be finished by 2025. It's like you look around now and you're like, oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
Like,
right?
I think
I
this
need-
is
we need some of them
This is
sunglasses.
real.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do need some of those sunglasses. But with like the other aspect too, with everything going on right now in the country and the news with gun control and gun violence going on, and you see a lot of what would be considered mass shootings happen in this movie. And it's weird because you're on this other side of this like fake spectrum basically, where he's like killing aliens, I guess, or like
I mean, he essentially just puts on a pair of sunglasses and decides that he's going to walk into a bank and just fucking
kill
murk.
anyone that
Oh,
doesn't
Murk
agree.
a bunch of
He
people.
doesn't
Yeah.
even take 10 minutes to decide,
Yeah.
should I do this? Should I? Nope.
It's just
gonna
all of a
fucking
sudden that
blow it
was
away.
it. Yeah, he just made a decision.
Yeah, you're
So-
absolutely
Yeah.
right, and I meant to bring that up. That's a great point. I feel like this could be triggering for some people.
Well, there was
like
definitely.
this day and age.
I
Like,
definitely
it's
had this like weird
something to think
internal
about,
battle that I
right?
was like,
Like-
"Wow, this is kind of crazy." Like, because I was to the point of being remade. I'm like, "Damn, could this even be remade?" Like,
Yeah.
at like what point is this? He's like an anti-villain or an anti-hero, and so it's just like that weird kind of vibe. But then as the movie goes on, you kind of see what's happening,
going on, yeah.
and it like makes sense. And it almost reminded me that end scene of Inglourious Bastards and their whole plan to like burn down the movie theater and like all this and the other thing. And I just remember like the first time watching it being like, dude, are they gonna go in and just like fuck this whole crowd of fucking old people up? Like, is this about to be absolutely wild? So it was different watching it this time around than I think any other time that I've watched it.
100%.
Well, and they had we were just watching Stranger Things, and the first episode of the season, they have a disclaimer because they aired it right
the
after the
Texas
school
shooting.
shooting.
Yeah.
And we were both kind of like, why are they having a disclaimer? And then you watch the end, why they did it. Yeah.
To an extent, I understood.
mean,
Yeah.
it was.
I think the disclaimer was kind of.
I don't think so.
It wasn't really.
depends,
It wasn't
yeah.
like relevant. Like I mean, I guess it was relevant, and it was the smart thing to do.
It was.
But
was
like, it's hard to tie it in together.
And-
having finished the whole season now, I don't really.
right. Well, it's not
The thing
something
you have
that
to understand
think-
too is that Stranger Things is also like kind of geared towards
right
a younger
audience.
audience,
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true,
right?
too.
Like younger than us.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So
Yeah,
I get it.
I kind of.
I get
yeah.
it. I get it. This, though, I can certainly see people watching this movie not necessarily understanding the message that John Carpenter's trying to get across and just seeing it as like a glorification of violence, which I feel like it
for
is
sure.
absolutely 100%. And Carpenter has said this. I'll get to that. 100% not the case. Like, this is about, class inequality and people rising up to fucking kind of fuck the upper class, I would say. and a lot of other things
And
as
they're
well.
also aliens.
They're also
trying
aliens.
to take over the world.
They're also aliens.
So fuck
Yep.
them.
Yeah. And
it's also not real.
It's also a
It's also a movie.
That's
Yeah.
Spoiler
wild and out of control.
alert for a movie that is came out in 1988.
Yeah.
The main character, played by Roddy Piper, Nada is his name. He only kills one actual person. Everyone else is an alien. Do you know what that one person is? You know. We'll talk about it. Anyway, yeah. Where were we? Did you have some more thoughts on They Live?
No, that was pretty much it. Like, just the relevance to it. I think that his character in like relation with Keith David's character is great. Their fight scene's wild. It's very long.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And thank you for
felt like
bringing up
15
Keith
minutes.
David. He's great.
He's awesome. Dude.
Yeah. He was awesome in The Thing, too. Like, he's great.
I cannot take him, though. It's so funny as much good horror stuff as he's done. I cannot remove him from the stepdad and There's Something About at the beginning.
Boy, I completely
that.
forgot about
He's
that.
wicked funny in the beginning of
Forgot
that
about
movie.
that. He's a good actor. He was
Yeah,
actually
he
in the
rocks.
Creep Show series, too. He
Yeah.
played a really good part in one of the episodes that he was in. Yeah, good actor. He also was played a pretty big part in Search of Darkness, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Like a lot of dialogue about horror. Yeah, Keith David. Kat, what'd you think of They Live? I know you have not seen this movie before, so why don't you tell?
haven't.
Yeah, what
No.
were
That was
your
the first time you
thoughts?
It was good.
Are you surprised? Are you surprised by that? Are you surprised
No,
this is
I
your
guess
first
not.
view?
No, I've never seen it. I actually really liked it. I wasn't really sure going into it. I'm like always like kind of nervous, like okay, what am I getting myself into? But I liked the whole concept of like the sunglasses. I liked mostly how they saw advertising and how they saw
Right.
TV advertising. Like that was the coolest part. I feel like when they were like seeing messages of what, because just being in like marketing and design and all that stuff, like that's my life. Like
That's
I want
essentially
that's
what it
yeah.
is, yeah.
So I'm like, wow,
You're a
that's
part of the
awesome.
problem.
Maybe I am. Am I an alien? Maybe you should get some sunglasses.
You have plenty of sunglasses that you lose and then steal mine.
Right. Well, that's correct.
Mm-hmm.
But so I loved that part where it actually said like obey and like get married and procreate. and this
Marry
thing.
and reproduce.
Yes,
Consume.
right.
Yeah.
Consume. I loved it. I was
Or-
just like, this is amazing.
When he looks at Cash and it says, "I am your god."
Right.
Huge
Yeah.
thing.
Yes.
Huge part.
Yeah,
Of it.
yeah, that was awesome. I actually liked in the very end. Are we doing spoiler territory?
We can at this point. The movie
Okay.
came out in 1988, so let's.
If you haven't
yeah.
seen it,
It's
then
pretty
what do you-
straightforward.
what
It's
do you
not like
cat?
there's like a real like list.
it's
You kind
just-
of know what you're
I
getting
would
into.
assume like that. Yeah, if you're listening to this, you either really like us and you don't care, or you've seen this movie and you want to hear our thoughts.
Or
on
pause it
so.
and go watch it. And
Yeah,
then
yeah,
listen
there
to
you
the rest
go.
of the episode.
Come back in an hour and 34 minutes.
$2.99 on Amazon Prime.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
go.
exactly.
I thought it was so funny how this
free on
movie
Peacock.
ended. How it was with the last like 2 seconds. You see that the girl's boobs are having sex, and like all of a sudden she sees the TV, and then the alien like shows up on the TV, and then she looks down, and the guy that she's having sex with is an alien, and he's like, "What's wrong, baby?" And then it just like ends, and I'm like, "What the hell was that?" like,
Yeah.
like the whole movie, and then all of a sudden you see like boobs. I'm like, what is this? All
Finally
of a
some
sudden, like
boobs.
what? Like
Because boobs.
Because boobs.
yeah.
It is funny too, and it's well, not funny.
What?
It's a great effect. I love the effect of when Nada puts on the sunglasses and it just goes automatically to black and white. And
Yeah.
just everything transitions. It's a really cool effect. It's done well.
It just makes it so much more bleak.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this is practical effects for the actors that are playing the aliens. So the mouth movement on them isn't great.
No.
Right, but that's okay.
So, but it's okay though. Yeah, again,
You're not expecting it to
Right.
be great.
because movie, suspend disbelief, watch the movie.
It's kind
good.
of part of the 80s factor.
Exactly.
But
Which-
it also
which
just
I
takes
like.
away the human aspect of it.
Right.
Correct.
It makes
also
them even less human.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So I always think of that with practical effects in the 80s. People are like, it looks so dumb. Like, well, if you just think of it as like especially in body horror, that like this is what is happening to their body, that it looks that unnatural, it almost makes it that much more fucking freaky.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's at least substance.
Yeah. Andrew, talk to me about They Live.
It's just it's so stupid, but yet so brilliant at the same time. Like, you think about the general idea of the movie, you're like, this sounds like the dumbest movie ever. You watch it, you're like, this movie's awesome.
Movie's
and
raw.
Yeah.
Perfectly
Yeah.
done. And there's just, like, there's so many scenes in this movie that are just absolute. Like, the scene when he kidnaps the woman, and then she just bottles him with the wine bottle.
Yeah.
Kicks him out of like a third story window.
Like, how did that window break so easily?
And then he like
That
Chris
broke,
Farley
yeah.
rolls down the hill.
Yeah.
And then later on,
He's
she's like,
fine.
sorry, I thought I killed you. Yeah, you thought you killed me. No shit.
And then he just comes into a dump truck.
And then also, like, the scene that, after they have that, like, 15-minute brawl.
Yeah, they beat the shit out of
And
him.
he was like, and Nada was like freaking out because he couldn't find his. But then they're hanging out, and he's just like, "Oh yeah, here." And he gives, what's his face? It's like,
Frank.
I thought you only had
Frank,
one
right?
pair of sunglasses.
Well, he goes into that trash truck and then like finds like a box of them.
Yeah, but then didn't he lose them?
Yeah, the thing dumps out, but he got more. Like he got another one. And then
Okay.
they went to that thing and they gave him like contacts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was cool. I like
Which
the
was really
contacts
cool.
because then they can't tell.
I feel like I thought of you a lot whenever he had like a gun and was just like going nuts because I felt like he was just being like, yeah, like, going like crazy shooting.
I just thought it was
everyone in
wild that
sight.
he just
like,
went from like 0 to 100 and like didn't even think about it. Just like, you know what? I'm
This
just
is
gonna go
what
into
has
this
to be
bank
done.
and kill
Yeah.
people.
yeah.
Like, hey, I'm just a drifter. I have nothing to live for. I just uncovered this massive alien world conspiracy, and you know what? I'm just gonna fucking kill everybody.
Yeah.
Sure, let's go.
Yeah, there's not really an arc.
No,
It's like,
no,
it's just like boom, boom,
not at all.
boom.
Nope, not at all. No arc.
Well, it's like a half hour, 45 minutes before it like gets to that point though.
Yeah, and I feel like he's very calm in that first half hour. He's just kind of like walking around, like observing, like trying to like get his bearings.
So within the first 20 minutes, he definitely has the glasses. Is in that store, like
Yeah.
looking at that old lady's calling
Yeah.
her. I'll let you say the line.
Oh yeah.
Formaldehyde face.
Yeah.
What an insult.
That's pretty
Yeah,
awesome.
that
He
is
has
Yeah.
some again some.
He also didn't play it
unreal
cool at all though.
one-liners.
He's just like yelling at people like maybe you should like not let them
Yeah.
know that they are.
Reel it in.
But he didn't really know what was going on. At the same
Yeah, but
time.
why are you just yelling at them?
Yeah,
They're like going on their on their like their
watches.
watches and be like, hey, he's over here, and you're like, whatever, formaldehyde.
I love that he looks at the other lady. He's like, "You're cool."
Yeah. Right, yeah. You're cool.
You're cool.
Yeah.
You're cool.
Yeah.
Fuck you. You suck.
Yeah.
So yeah, They Live. Good movie. I think we all liked it to
Yeah,
varying
it's a lot of
degrees,
fun.
right?
Correct.
It's good. Like you said, you hadn't seen it in 5 years. It's like perfect to watch every 4 years.
Yeah.
5 years. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's just a good time.
for sure. Yeah, absolutely a good time if you want to just
Live alone.
hang out, watch a throwback 80s B movie, sci-fi action
Yeah,
horror movie.
absolutely.
Hell yeah, fuck yeah. All right, so this movie came out in 1988. Which technically this is the first movie that we've covered from 1988. You want to hear about some of the other movies that came out this year? There's some good ones and some not so good
Why
ones.
is it
Yeah.
technically?
Well, technically because we did see Killer Clowns from Outer Space as part of a double feature when we covered Screens and Screams at Barrett's Haunted Mansion. We didn't do a full deep dive on that movie, which we should do at some point. I know I talked about that when we did our 80s draft, but I love Killer Clowns from Outer Space. That's the only other movie from that year that we've really talked about at any sort of length. I would argue probably one of the best movies to come out from that year is the Blob remake. You seen that?
movie rocks.
Oof, so good. Really?
It's super violent.
Incredibly gory.
If I have, it was like forever ago, and I don't remember it.
It's a good body horror, practical effects, like body melt type deal. Yeah.
It's incredibly gory and graphic.
Yeah.
Like the 80s practical special effects are on full display. Matt Dillon's younger brother plays the main character in the movie. It's awesome. Yeah, I actually have it saved in my like Google TV watch list. So if it pops up on a streaming service, I'll get a notification because I haven't seen that movie.
That's
Also,
the thing. That's the
Me
thing.
neither.
How do you do that?
yeah.
Can you repeat yourself with that?
How do you do that?
download the Google TV app.
Oh no.
And you basically you can have a watch list. You search for a particular movie, and you let Google know what streaming services you have, and then as something comes onto a streaming services, it'll either give you a notification, or you can go into your watch list and see what each particular thing on your watch list is on for a streaming service.
Yeah.
It's good. I use it all the time.
You're giving Google information.
Yes, exactly.
The aliens.
I always like
The aliens.
TV,
Speaking of aliens.
Speaking of the
Obey, search, consume,
Google.
watch, Google,
Facebook, Twitter.
Yes, exactly. Tweet.
I always love that Fangoria on the first of every month posts all the horror movies going to all the streaming
I
services.
love that too. Yeah.
Which, you know what I forgot that I watched? Alligator. You gotta watch that
I've seen
movie,
Alligator
dude.
before.
You
Yeah, I
have?
love that
Okay.
movie.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
I think
dude. That
Alligator's a
wedding scene
scary,
was
scary
amazing.
movie. Scary movie. Just because it's coming out of the sewers and like not like the ocean.
Yeah.
Like it's like you're not safe
And
anywhere.
it just like it manages to get in and out so easily. Like,
and it's a really good
and it's
practical effect, huge alligator, too.
Yeah.
Like,
And
awesome.
it's ginormous.
Yeah, that movie was way better than I thought it was going to be, and it has Robert Forster. in
It's
it,
a
which is-
better. It's a better Lake Placid. I think. It's better than
yeah.
Lake Placid.
What was that other
It's-
movie that came out recently that I liked it? It was good. It wasn't called.
Oh,
Alligator.
Crawl.
Crawl. Yeah, I thought that was pretty good.
Talk to us about Crawl real quick.
I can barely remember it, but it was
No?
basically like there was like a hurricane, and this girl went to like they're down in Florida or whatever. The girl's worried about her father, like lives alone.
Dad's played by Barry Pepper, who was
Barry
the
Pepper.
sniper in Saving Private Ryan.
Good to know.
Wow.
I know that. So she drives to his house because she had a hold of him, I think, and then she gets there and it's like flooded. And then basically like they're down in the basement and that alligator. And it's,
There's like a bunch of them.
yeah, well, there's like the big one to start, and then it's scary.
Scary.
Luckily we don't get a lot up here in Plymouth,
Scary.
Massachusetts.
Dude, there's nothing. My biggest fear is to be eaten alive by anything.
Yeah, maybe a shark.
Yeah, well,
Shark-
stay out of the ocean off the coast, by the way.
I just stay out of bodies of water.
You technically do. Yeah, you do. Not technically, you do that. So you do.
If
that
I go
a
in,
lot.
I'm not going over my waist. I don't know what's out there. Jellyfish suck too.
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
Anything in the water is gross and weird. And
That's
good.
true.
Creepy crawlies.
Yeah. Pond monster.
River monsters.
Other things.
Go.
Oh yeah, so I also have another little thing that I forgot came out. They're remaking Arachnophobia.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And I'm
That's
yeah,
right.
it's the director that did Happy Death Day to You, right?
Happy birthday to you.
Yeah,
Christopher,
so I was like, yeah.
Christopher Landon, right? Anyone? Bueller?
Yeah.
No.
I don't know.
You're the guy that knows all those things.
Yeah.
Apparently, I believe I'm about 99.9% positive that that is the name of the director. Happy Death Day and Happy Death Day to you.
It's my birthday.
If it doesn't have Jeff Daniels in it, though, I don't know if I want to see
I knew you were going to say that. I have a feeling
What
that
about John
Jeff
Goodman?
Daniels is not going to be in
John
it.
Goodman.
I love John.
Yeah, I
John
mean-
Goodman's still alive.
In real life.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, I wasn't sure. If
But
he,
I
like,
think
was
his
one of the-
character does die in the original.
I also have a feeling that John Goodman's not going to. I have a feeling that
John Goodman is awesome.
There's going to be a lot of spiders.
Yeah, I don't
though.
think Jeff Daniels is gonna be in it. I
No.
guess I think it's gonna be heavy on CGI, and I think that's like a controversial point that was.
I
brought
want
up.
real spiders. Awesome.
Yeah.
Like, if I'm gonna see this
What
movie.
if, do you have a real spider on your face?
I'm not in the movie. Why would I have?
Maybe
a
you
spider on my
could be
face?
if you volunteer.
Volunteer to just have spiders on me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like Fear Factor. Joe Rogan just
Eat
shows up.
spiders. That was so
Young
gross.
Joe Rogan with hair, just doing weird fear things.
Jamie, bring that up.
All right. Let's see. What else came out in 1988? I'm not a fan of this franchise. The original Child's Play came out in
I like that.
1988.
I like Chucky.
You don't
first-
like the original Child's
The
Play?
first one's good. I'm not a fan of the whole franchise. I don't
Oh,
think the
dude.
movies are that great.
I
like
actually,
Chucky.
those were the scariest thing in the world to me when I was little. Was
Oh,
Chucky.
when
I
you're
was
little,
like
that's
really,
terrifying.
really scared
The
of
first,
Chucky
the
when I was
first
a
one
little
scared
kid.
me. I don't think the sequels are anything to write home about,
I
personally.
like Bride of Chucky.
Yeah,
Isn't that the
through
good
up
story?
through
Purchase
Bride
a
of
doll
Chucky,
and first
I
to
like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
After that, I kind of felt.
Andrew, we also you've talked about her before. Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. The first movie came out in the year 1988.
I thought you were
Talked
gonna
about her
say.
before.
A couple of glorious things about her that you tend to like.
Oh, well, I mean, that's the only thing. That's
I thought you were gonna talk about Angela Lansbury. For
We're
me.
just talking about boobs.
Yes, Angela Lansbury. Angela. Yes, please. Also, we got we got a lot of bad sequels this year. Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood. Okay, let's see what else.
Not one of my favorites.
Fright Night Part 2. Fright Night Part 1, I love. Fright Night Part 2, I have not seen.
Fright
Anybody?
Night Part 1 is fantastic.
Great movie.
Fright
also,
Night Part 2 is not.
You're naming a bunch of sequels that I didn't even know exist.
great remake, Fright Night, with Colin Farrell and Anton Yelchin.
It
Seen
was
it?
okay. Yeah.
I thought it was good. I liked it.
Colin Farrell's. I mean.
Oh,
I
she's
love
gonna
Colin
jump
Farrell.
over the table and attack you right now.
Colin Farrell has grown
He's
on
not-
me as years
I'm gonna
have gone
attack
by.
you
Like,
like
He's not bad.
He's
He's just
better
like-
in like serious role movies.
Yeah.
Well, he
Yeah.
went from being like a heartthrob to like a serious actor, and now he's a very good actor. So that happens to
I
still
still
be
say
incredibly
The
handsome.
Lobster's a great movie.
Lobster's a great movie. We also got Halloween 4, The Return of Michael
Love
Myers.
that movie,
That's actually
dude.
not a bad movie at all.
I love that
I would
movie.
agree with you there. I would agree. Andrew, we got Hellbound, Hellraiser 2.
I don't even know if I've seen that movie because
Really?
I
What?
had no desire to see that one. Oh, I saw Hellbound. It's the third one that
Okay.
That's the Hell on Earth. in
there's
my
the,
opinion.
Hell
after
on
the
Earth.
second one. Yeah, I mean it was like this movie sucked. No, but it's the third one that's
I like the second one better than the first one.
better.
Yeah.
Maybe
That's
I'll have to-
crazy,
maybe I'll have
dude.
to give it a rewatch
Yeah.
because it's been a while. Because I just if I'm gonna watch Hellraiser, I just go.
Well, yeah, that's obviously the biggest.
Yeah, I know,
movie.
but I should probably
One.
Hellraiser
two
is
maybe
good.
more.
That movie feels so long. Every time I watch it, I'm like, this movie... And I always, like, have this weird, like, Mandela effect with the first and the second one, where I'm
which one's
confused
which.
what parts come from...
You know what's funny is that so there have been a lot of rumors the last couple of years that they're talking about bringing Hellraiser, the first Hellraiser, as like a legacy, like classic haunted house to Halloween Horror Nights in Orlando.
That'd be sick.
Which, yes, I agree, it would be sick. How do you bring a movie with like that much gore and that much sexual shit to a theme park? Like
Near Disney.
Like near Disney World.
Might be a bit of a movie.
Gonna have to edit out a lot of shit. But I'm sure it would be great.
You
'Cause
could still
everything
make it- you could
everything they
still
do
make
is
it good.
great. But yeah, so Hellbound, Hellraiser 2. Killer Clowns from Outer Space is a phenomenal movie.
Oh yeah.
That I
Undisputed.
can't believe there's been no sequels to it. There's been talk,
I thought
nothing's
there was
happened.
still nothing.
There's talk. That's actually another property that was adapted into a haunted house at Universal Orlando, Halloween Horror Nights. And because it was so popular at that event, there was talk that they were going to do a sequel to the movie, which they have not talked about yet.
With the Chiodo brothers.
Right, with the Chiodo brothers. I recently bought a fucking dope Killer Clowns shirt from Fright Rags that I have yet to wear.
yeah.
So I'm going to drop that in all your faces at
You know
some
what?
point.
I just
sometime
realized
soon.
I was for some reason
Candyman.
terrible.
Okay.
Absolutely. It said
You
Hellraiser
saved,
too.
you
I was
saved
like,
yourself.
Let's
I was
see.
like, wait a minute, what was I thinking of? I was like, any Candyman remake.
Matt, we got Maniac Cop in 1988.
Great. Bruce Campbell, love it. I actually like all three of those movies.
Yep. Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master. Andrew, Phantasm 2 came out, and
Phantasm 2 is solid.
Phantasm
Awesome.
2U.
Yeah.
Then we also got Poltergeist 3. No thanks. Pumpkinhead. Awesome movie.
Pumpkinhead's
Great
underrated.
movie, great creature. Stan Winston's directorial debut after doing fantastic creature work. Fantastic.
Fantastic.
And also an underrated Wes Craven movie, The Serpent and the Rainbow, with
Yes, dude.
the pride of UMass, Bill Pullman.
Yeah, man, that movie rocks. They did a great bit on Cursed Films about this.
Haven't seen that yet.
You
I
should
wanna,
watch it. It's
okay,
really,
all
really
right,
good,
okay,
dude.
Yep.
It's a lot about the... It has a lot to do with, like, the voodoo aspect and, like, the traditional Haitian culture and stuff.
Yep.
Well, there's a second half of it about actually making it and them having to leave Haiti and make the rest of the movie in the Dominican Republic.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
So
they got
what's-
like basically literally got chased out of Haiti.
That's
Wow,
great.
those cursed film things are awesome.
Unbelievably
They're
good.
It's an awesome
so
There's
show.
some deep cut stuff too. They had a Andrei Tarkovsky movie on it this season too, which I had never even like heard of the movie.
What is this? What is this on?
Shutter.
Shutter.
I don't think I've seen any
You,
of them.
I think you can
Well, the
watch
first-
it through AMC.
AMC Plus or Shutter. And we
Okay.
watched the
The
first
Wizard of
one of this
Oz.
season, the Wizard of Oz one was
Yeah.
good.
That one was
That was
that
really
was
good.
tough. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was pretty fucked
Yeah.
up.
Is that about what I think it's about?
It's about
all
all
of
the
it.
like conspiracy things
All
like
of it.
that are behind the Wizard of Oz and people that died, right? No?
I
There was a
forget.
lot of
yeah.
accidents on set. Like the Wicked Witch of the West was severely
Yeah,
burned.
she got burned up.
Yeah, the Tin Man had a
All burned
reaction
up.
to his metallic makeup.
Yeah, it was
For
probably
the rest
lead-
of
it was
his
probably,
life.
it was probably
Yeah.
like lead
Yeah.
paint or something.
Right,
was,
exactly.
yeah.
Was
yeah.
it really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of fucked up shit.
So there was a
Christ. See,
lot
that's
of
what happens when you make movies back then.
Who played Dorothy?
Judy Garland.
Judy
Yeah, she
Garland.
got addicted to
she-
pills.
Yeah, a lot
Yeah.
of shit
Oh,
happened
yeah.
to her.
Yeah, she
a
had
lot
terrible-
of the Munchkins had a lot
They were
of
just
shit going
feeding
on.
her speed
Yeah.
to keep her skinny because they were like, you're aging too fast and with a 15-year-old girl.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy.
So they just kept
Wild
giving
times.
her like literally like basically what would be speed now.
Yeah.
What year?
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Yeah.
I
Well,
was like,
Hey,
was exciting.
so Cursed Films on Shudder, great series. Check it out.
Check it out.
So a little bit more about They Live as we continue the discussion about this movie. Actually, at this point, we should probably take a little bit of a break. 90 seconds. We'll be back after a word from our sponsor.
It's official. The critics' decision is in.
Spooky World is spectacular.
Enter the new Black Hole.
If you dare.
Or the new horror House of Wax. This year, don't miss the real Jason, Bobby Pickett, or Alice Cooper. Phone the 24-hour Spooky World hotline. 508-838-0200. That's 508-838-0200. Spooky World is just west of Boston and haunts every night from October 1st till November 1st. If you had the nerve, you'd phone 508-838-0200.
It's America's horror theme park. Spooky World.
Don't be scared. I'm the super sweet monster with the super sweet new cereal, Count Chocula.
Biffle, here's the super sweet new cereal, Frankenberry.
But I've got chocolate sweeties for monstrous chocolate flavor.
Well, I got berry-flavored sweeties for monster strawberry flavor.
Count Chocula.
Frankenberry.
Hi.
Frankenberry.
Count Chocula.
Sleepy Clover. Eat alive!
The new face of evil is going to scare you to death. Barrett's Haunted Mansion. It's killer this year. Then right next door to the Abington Ale House. Barrett's Haunted Mansion. Eat, drink, and be scary. Go to bhmansion.com.
And we're back. All right, a little bit more about They Live as we continue to talk about this movie. Obviously directed by John Carpenter, arguably the greatest horror director that's ever lived, or one of them.
I think I solidified that in my mind this past couple weeks. I was like, I think he really is the best horror director.
I mean, you can maybe have a conversation about him and a couple others, like I guess maybe George Romero,
Wes Craven.
Wes Craven. Is there anybody holds a candle to those three?
Maybe.
Hitchcock was more thrillers, but I mean, you could put him in the conversation, I would say.
If Hitchcock was around
Dario
later,
Argento is pretty rad, but that's a whole different ball game of horror.
That'd be like me saying.
Yeah. Well, it's just like that. Yeah, that's what's new.
I
Dario
would-
Argento's
newer
just Italian.
Hot take. I mean, a lot of his movies are more thrillers, but I think there's an argument for David Fincher. Some of the movies that he's directed, I think there's an argument there. But I mean, if you were to tell me Carpenter or Romero or Craven or Argento or I wouldn't argue with you. I understand.
Yeah.
You
You just look at his track, it's just they're all bangers.
You could maybe even say Tobe Hooper to a certain extent for certain things. I mean, not as extensive as a catalog as some of those other guys, but he directed probably 2 or 3 of the most influential. I don't know. Anyway, I digress. So directed by Carpenter, based on a short story by a guy named Ray Nelson that was called 8 O'Clock in the Morning. Carpenter also said he drew inspiration from the works of H.P. Lovecraft when he was coming up with the concept of this movie. Mainly because, this is a direct quote from Carpenter, and that's the great thing about covering John Carpenter stuff on a podcast, is that he always has stuff to say. He's very outspoken, and he does not put up with any bullshit. No. He tells you how he feels about things, which I love.
He does not relent.
Always done it. He does not relent. John Carpenter, the relentless. Right? Here's a quote.
What we do in the shadows.
Quote, Lovecraft wrote about the hidden world, the, quote, world underneath. His stories were about gods who are repressed, who were once on Earth and are now coming back. The world underneath has a great deal to do. They live. Makes sense. This story also reminded me a lot, Matt. Ever read The 10 O'Clock People by Stephen King, the short story?
What book is that?
So I believe it's not Night Shift. What's the other one?
It's got to be, it could be, it's not, would it be 4 Past Midnight? Is it long or is it short?
It's short. It's not 4
Everything's
Past Midnight.
Eventual or
No, it's,
Full Dark No Stars. There's Hearts in Atlantis. There's,
let's see. Hold on.
Skeleton
Crew. It's in Skeleton Crew. So basically, the idea for that story, it came out 5 years after They Lived. So I think even King has said it's an homage to this story. Basically, instead of sunglasses, the name of the 10 O'Clock People comes from a group of people that are used to having their cigarette break at work, and they're trying to quit smoking. And there's something that happens when there's a chemical imbalance in your brain when you're trying to quit smoking. You're going through nicotine withdrawal, that you're able to see this separate reality where a lot of the people walking around are actually these inhuman monsters that are trying to take over the world. Mm-hmm. So it's not as in depth.
How much coke was
That's got to be
a
big
lot,
time cocaine.
So it's not as in depth as this movie, but it's been said that it's an homage to this movie. So I thought a lot about the 10 O'Clock People when I was watching this. It's a good short story. Read it for sure.
I will. Yeah.
I like it. Let's see. Carpenter wanted a truly rugged individual to play Nada, and it was originally written for Kurt Russell.
Big surprise.
Makes sense.
Which I can see.
Yeah.
Carpenter actually felt he should cast somebody else after casting Russell in 4 of his prior films, in Elvis, Escape from New York, The Thing, and Big Trouble in Little China. Ultimately decided on wrestler Roddy Piper in the lead role after seeing him live at WrestleMania 3 in 1987. So there you go. That's how we got Roddy.
How much bigger
Roddy
do you think
Piper.
this movie would have been?
I wonder, because it would have been pairing Kurt Russell with Keith David, just like The Thing 6 years later. I mean, The Thing wasn't a hit when it first came out, so I wonder. I don't know.
Yeah, it got really, really bad reviews.
That's crazy.
But here's also the interesting thing here, too. So Roddy Piper credits John Carpenter and They Live with jump-starting the wrestler-turned-actor migration, which, if you think about it, kind of really hadn't been done before. Now it's very popular. You have John Cena, The Rock. Yep. Whoever else. But here's a quote from Andre the Giant. Here's a quote from Roddy Piper. I was the first wrestler ever in the history of wrestling to star in a major motion picture that became #1 at the box office of the weekend. And that gave the itch to, I don't know how many wrestlers. And not one of them to this day has put out a quality picture like this, and not one of them has had a #1 hit like this. End quote, which, not sure when he said this, but see Dwayne The Rock Johnson, please. I mean, yeah, he's in a lot.
The Scorpion King.
A lot of movies. But the funny thing is, because of the socio-political aspects of this movie, Vince McMahon did not want Roddy Piper to star in this movie, and because Roddy Piper did, Vince McMahon fired him from the WWE, which is wild.
Because he's a dick, because he's probably one of those reptile people.
Probably a reptile person.
Yeah, dude.
Yep. Let's see what else. The line, "I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum," was ad-libbed by Roddy Piper. According to Carpenter, Piper had previously written the line in his notebook of potential verbal bits during his wrestling career. He shared the notebook with Carpenter, and they agreed that this particular line fit the character and the film perfectly. Piper went on to use it at a wrestling match. Gone on to become one of the biggest, most quotable lines in any cult, science fiction, horror, action film. It's so stupid, but it's so iconic.
So good.
It's so stupid. He doesn't even have any bubble gum in his mouth when he walks into the bank.
He's all out.
He has a shotgun in his hand.
He's all out of it.
So he doesn't need bubble gum.
There's a soundbite. It's a song by this band called Dr. Acula that uses it. It's pretty fun. Yeah.
So, Kat, I immediately thought of you when I picked up on this. You being into graphic design. I know you're big into the art world. Wicked into it. Have you heard of an artist named Shepard Fairey?
Yes.
Okay, so he's the American contemporary artist, activist.
He did the Obey.
Obey,
yes,
which is based on this.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, of course. So I just figured that you would have thought of that or brought that
like
up.
the shirts, Obey?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
all of those, like the tricolor, like the white, red, white, and blue, kind of.
So like the Obey stuff with Andre the Giant, he designed all that.
Yeah.
He went to RISD.
Yep.
So he's pretty famous. He's done like the Barack Obama Hope poster.
Yeah.
He did that.
Yep.
Lots of other things.
Yeah.
But he credits the film as a major source of inspiration, sharing a logo on his Obey campaign.
Well, he even used the same font. That's the exact same
It
font.
looks exactly the same. Yeah, it is.
It's the same thing.
Here's a direct quote from him. "They Live was the basis for my use of the word obey. The movie has a very strong message about the power of commercialism and the way that people are manipulated by advertising, which I feel like is one of the big messages of this film. 100%. Can't talk about this movie and not talk about advertising and lots of other things.
Yeah, it's not. There's nothing about this movie that's really hidden.
Nope, for sure.
It's all out in the open.
Speaking of which,
They're hidden.
if we're moving on to a little bit of like half-assed analysis about this movie, okay? Lot to chew on here. Lot to...
Like bubblegum.
Yeah, like bubblegum, which we're almost out of.
We are almost out.
So people have interpreted this as about a lot of things over the years. The reptilian humanoid conspiracy, which is a wild conspiracy theory. See that? It's very exhausting. Carpenter actually himself has come out and said this is a critique of Reaganism, which is funny because we actually talked about Reaganism when we talked about The Stepfather a few weeks back. So basically, capitalism, a critique of capitalism. Here's a direct quote from Carpenter. Let's see. The picture's premise that the Reagan Revolution is run by aliens from another galaxy. Free enterprisers from outer space have taken over the world and are exploiting Earth as if it's a third world planet. As soon as they exhaust all of our resources, they'll move on to another world. I began watching TV again. I quickly realized that everything we see is designed to sell us something. It's all about wanting us to buy something. The only thing they want us to do is take our money. Let's see what else. Let's see. To this end, Carpenter thought of sunglasses as being the tool to seeing the truth, which is, quote, is seen in black and white as if it's the aliens have colorized us. That means, of course, that Ted Turner is really a monster from outer space. Again, Carpenter just being the man and just speaking his mind. And here's another quote from him. They want to own all our businesses. A Universal executive asked me, where's the threat in that? We all sell out every day. I ended up using that line in the film, which he does. Yeah. So, I know, a lot of quotes. But, and I guess just, of course, over the years, this movie is kind of, other people have latched onto this. Let's say less than desirable specifically neo-Nazi
It's
groups.
like QAnon
You've heard
and
about
shit.
this? Yeah. So basically, several neo-Nazi and white supremacist groups co-opted the movie for their own purpose, spreading rumors that it's really an allegory for Jews controlling the world.
Of course they did.
Carpenter
Christ, yeah.
Carpenter squashed this directly.
Well, I would think so.
in 2017, he tweeted out directly, and I quote, "They Live is about yuppies and unrestrained capitalism. It has nothing to do with Jewish control of the world, which is slander and a lie." So, I mean, I feel like you can interpret
I
this
feel like
movie any way
neo-Nazis
you
are
want
going to
to.
use anything to interpret it the way that they want it.
Correct,
to.
correct.
So that does not surprise
Well,
me.
they're out of their
Again,
Yeah,
but
so.
and people, people are going to interpret it the way I want, the way they want, like you said, but from the mouth of the man that made the movie.
Well, yeah,
that's what it's
he
about.
better say that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and like I said, Carpenter has never been
People
shy
are
about
insane.
speaking his thoughts. There, I know I kind of read a lot of quotes. It's a lot. It's a
No,
lot to
it all
chew
makes-
on,
it all
digest.
makes
I know it was
sense.
a lot
Like,
to
it's all
throw at you
fitting.
guys.
It's on par with John Carpenter. Talk like what you were saying earlier. He's always been so outspoken. I always have loved watching any sort of documentary or thing that he's in where he's talking about horror. And there's a great documentary called Nightmares in the USA, or Nightmares in Red, White, and Blue. Sorry,
Yep.
it was basically a horror documentary documenting horror throughout the years and how it's always related to American society. And he is so good in that. He has a lot to say. Have you seen it?
I've not.
It's really good. I think it's on Amazon Prime.
Horror in Red, White, and Blue. Okay.
Well, I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Wasn't horror one of like the first outlets?
Well, it's always had
It's always had an underlying
against the
meaning.
grain.
Yeah, against the grain, like capitalism,
Anti-violence,
whatever. Yeah, everything. Yeah.
Well, think about it like this: like Night of the Living Dead, that Romero directed, was the first horror movie, or one of the first movies ever, like mainstream horror movies, to ever have a black protagonist. It was clearly an allegory for racism.
Especially with the
Yeah,
ending.
so they've always spoke out against injustice and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
So he's always just he's just smart. Like I said, he's like the George Carlin of like the horror director community.
And he'd be the first one to tell you that like some of the Halloween sequels that he was attached to, he did for a cash grab because money's green.
Yeah.
So he knows.
If you
So
want to
even
make
when he
more
talks about
movies,
Halloween
if you
2
want to make
is
more
so
movies
funny.
that you really believe in, you're gonna have
Correct.
to grab some.
Correct.
I love him just saying how he's like, yeah, Halloween shit.
Yeah, I love it. Great. He's awesome. He's the
Yeah,
man.
he rocks. I'm so
feel like-
happy
like-
he's still kicking.
I feel like if there were a white whale to get on this podcast, I mean, not that he would ever come on. I would love.
Good Lord.
I'd lose my mind.
Yeah, of course, Andrew.
We wouldn't even be able to
I
say
know.
anything. We'd just be like, duh.
Wouldn't
You'd have
you?
to let him
Wouldn't you
smoke
love
cigarettes
to?
in the basement.
Wouldn't you love to like hang out
Yeah,
and
I'd
smoke
smoke-
some butts and
Me and
rip,
him,
rip some drinks with John
He could hang out
Carpenter?
at my place. We'll smoke butts and
And he could play the keyboard and the piano, like whatever. Yeah, I would love to do that. Oh my God, he's the
that
man.
would be awesome. How old is he now?
He's got to be in his like late 70s.
Yeah.
Still cranking out music though. He did the score for Firestarter. Like always cranking.
Which
out
was
music.
actually really good.
really good. Best part of the movie by
The
far.
only
I know we
good part
talked
of
about
the
it in the
movie.
episode. So
Did he do the music for They Live?
he did.
Okay.
Yep,
Yeah, that's
he
what I
did.
thought.
I liked the music. They had that walking bass line all the time. They're like, dun,
I was like, I had to look it up because I thought it was going to be Ennio Morricone who did The Thing.
The thing.
Because it's
Great
very
score.
similar.
Yeah.
So it has that kind of like boom, boom. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like almost like Pink Panther.
A
Yeah.
little bit, a little mysterious.
Thanks
All right.
for that. Yeah.
All right. We've talked a lot about They Live. Is there anything we haven't covered? Anything anyone wants to talk about? I've talked a lot. Somebody else want to talk besides me? Anyone? Bueller.
These gummy bears
I
were
feel like
great.
we've talked about it. I can try to think of something.
If you don't, that's okay too.
I
we can
don't.
end
I'm
here.
trying to think.
That's fine.
I'm sure I got nothing.
We're
Yeah.
we're at a good time here.
Yeah.
So up to you.
my official snack of this podcast was the Haribo?
Haribo.
Haribo.
Star Mix.
Haribo.
They're a bunch of gummies. They're really good.
The commercial, they spell it
Haribo?
out.
They do? They spell it out?
H-A-R-I-B-O.
Hot take.
Haribo. Something like that.
Gummy bears and gummy candy are the grossest candy of all time.
That's a
Hot
big
take,
fat
you're
lie.
wrong.
Take.
Yeah, no, that's incorrect.
Wrong.
You ever had like black
Hot,
licorice?
hotter take. Fruit candy, aside from Starburst, is gross.
Skittles?
We were looking at the
Skittles.
Skittles are probably the worst thing for you ever, but they're so good.
They're great though.
Dude,
Give
Laffy
me
Taffy?
Reese's or give me death.
Laffy Taffy.
Oh, dude, yeah, Reese's Cups are the best.
Yeah, well, we're not talking about Reese's Cups. We're talking about
Oh, yeah.
fruits.
We're talking about Reese's Cups. We're talking
Sour
Spearmints.
Patch Kids? No.
I could eat Reese's Cups until they kill me.
Okay, well,
Like, just
I know,
consecutively until it ended.
Do not
my
talk
life.
bad about
Sour Patch Kids, Swedish Fish. Okay, I can fuck with those.
Nerds.
No.
What about
These
the
are all
sour
great.
watermelon?
All great
No.
candies to have when you go to the movies and you see a horror
Right?
film.
Yeah.
Everlasting Gobstopper. No, those are
Everlasting
terrible.
Gobstopper? Or Warheads?
Oh, those are the
Ugh. Atomic Warheads.
Yeah.
Sour.
those rot your teeth
Pocket
out.
Jolly
Ranchers.
Ranchers are good.
Jolly Ranchers are okay. Certain ones.
Airheads.
Airheads. Well, we could just sit here and keep naming candy for a little bit longer. Or we could realize that we're done with this episode and we'll be back next week with something that we've yet to decide. Maybe
Gushers.
we will decide it after we stop recording in the next several minutes. I don't know. I
Gushers
can't predict the
burst ones.
future. We shall
burst.
see what happens.
Right in your
Oh,
mouth.
Yeah.
wait, no, the fruit chews were the ones that burst.
Every
right?
gusher bursts in your mouth.
Yeah, you like that, don't you?
I like it in my fruit snacks.
Oh, don't you know?
As long as the fruit flavor coming on.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
There's a fruit flavor coming.
Not that there's anything wrong with that, Andrew, okay? Anyway, I'm going to sign off before we get in trouble here. Hey, guys, guess what? Here's where you can find our podcast. Spoiler alert, wherever you're listening right now, listener, you can listen to us again there next week. But in
Sometimes you gotta
case
say listen.
you're looking for an
Listen,
alternative
listening,
podcast platform, there's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spreaker, and probably a bunch of other places that we don't even fucking know about. Hey, there's a lot of places out there. I don't know. I can't tell. I don't know. But hey, we're everywhere, okay? We're everywhere.
Like Fingerman.
That always reminds me of that always reminds me of Joe Dirt like listing off fireworks.
Me? Or just
You when like you're reading off the things. Yeah.
That's awesome. That cracks me up. If only I had Andrew's mullet, then maybe I could be a little bit more like Joe Dirt.
That's why they call Joe Dirt.
All right, guys. Well, hey, good talk about They Live. This was fun. I'm glad we're back in studio
yeah.
this week.
Yeah, we gotta get back on schedule, baby.
Yeah, we're back in schedule.
Back on the
We'll be back next week, and again, we might have
back.
we might have something else. Might have something else this week. I'm not sure 100% yet. Stay tuned for that. But guys, say a good evening to your
Go ahead,
audience.
Andrew.
A good
already said it. A good evening.
Goodbye. Bye.
Adios, muchachos.
Always.
Go Celtics.
Adios. Adios. Go Celtics. Go
Big
Celtics. Go
game,
Celtics. Go Celtics.
baby. Let's go.
Fuck you, Draymond Green. Eat
Yeah.
shit, baby.
Wait, did I
That guy sucks.
Nope.
night.
Tomorrow night.
Tonight, if you're listening right now.
Yeah, tonight if you're listening right
yeah,
now. That's right.
what I
Tonight.
did there. I see what you did there.
Okay, bye. Hey everyone, it's Mike from America's Hometown Horror, and just wanted to say thank you again for listening to another episode of our show, because of course, we would be nothing without you listeners. If you are interested in more local Plymouth podcasts, I would highly recommend you check out some shows by our cohorts on the Inebriart Podcast Network. That's right, the Inebriart Podcast Network, folks. In addition to America's Hometown Horror, you can find the Inebriart Podcast, Bar Talk, Theme Park Legends, Retro Redoctopus, and Old Colony Cast. Head on over and give them a listen.